ho, ho, baby! What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot here with you, live on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel on a playoff victory Monday night. And that, of course, can only mean one thing. It is the Smoke Break, powered by BetUS. Good to have you in, folks. Survive and advance. That's all that matters this time of year. And the Buffalo Bills not only survived, not only advanced, but did so in dominant fashion in Orchard Park on Sunday afternoon. 31-7, your final in Buffalo, as the Bills roll over rookie Bo Nix, head coach Sean Payton, and the Denver Broncos to advance to the divisional round for what could be one of the best matchups in recent memory. 6:30 p.m. next Sunday evening, the Buffalo Bills host Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens for a chance, in all likelihood, to go and attend the Arrowhead Invitational and take on the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC Championship for a right to go to Super Bowl 59. So much to talk about here on the Smoke Break this evening. Once again, so great to have you in off of yet another dominant wild card victory for these Buffalo Bills. This has become routine for us as Bills fans, watching Josh Allen, Sean McDermott and company roll over whoever happens to come their way in the first round of the playoffs. Yesterday afternoon, it happened to be the Denver Broncos. Buffalo Bills were an 8.5-point favorite in that game, and they made it look easy once the second half rolled around. What an odd game, but what a satisfying game when it all came to a close. Just walked back into my door here at the Z-Bot Studios in Connecticut. Good to be back in the studios as opposed to in the Z-Bot Parent Studios, which is my parents' basement, where I have to track my equipment from here to there. We're back here, and we're back ready to talk Bills ball. Just got back from attending the game, was there yesterday. Just got back to Connecticut, driving back from Rochester. What a beautiful game to be at. Crowd was pumped. Kyle Williams had that place jumping from the beginning. And that's where we start. We'll start at the beginning of the game, where you thought initially, oh boy, we might have ourselves a ball game. We're 2.5 minutes into the first quarter. Now, Rico and I had debated this at length this past Friday, where we had talked about the idea of either the Bills getting the ball first in that game and what advantages might come from that, or the Broncos getting the ball first in that game and what advantages might come from that. And I was under the impression that this might be one of the rare times where I would like to see the Bills get the ball first, because I had felt that if you were able to take that first possession, go down the field, cash it in for points, you already have a ton of pressure on a rookie Bo Nix going into Buffalo in a playoff game. I mean, he's already got the odds stacked against him. But you put him in a situation where he's in that same environment, but trailing right off the bat. I thought that was going to mean nothing but trouble for Denver. But the Broncos end up starting with the ball, and they end up starting red hot. What was it, 4 plays into the game, 5 plays into the game? I'm barely at my seat yet. Hell, I'm not even at my seat yet. I'm still standing up towards the top looking out. And Bo Nix launches one. Damn near 50 yards on a dime drop in the bucket all the way in the end zone to Troy Franklin. And before you even got a chance to sit down, and usually that's just an expression, before I got to take my seat, they were already losing. This was legitimately the scenario. Before I even sat in my seat, these Buffalo Bills in the playoffs, a game in which they're an 8.5-point favorite in, are trailing by a touchdown to a rookie quarterback. And you got to be thinking to yourself, with the ease in which they scored, how wide open Franklin was on that play, the beautiful throw that Bo Nix has. And you got to think about it. Yes, he was wide open. Most competent NFL quarterbacks are making that throw. But we're talking about a rookie here. We're talking about a rookie here on a team that has some of the highest dead cap in NFL history, right? Walking into that building, as ruckus as it was, right after moments, really, after Kyle Williams gets this crowd through the roof. You don't need any added motivation for playoff football in Buffalo. Kyle Williams added that little bit extra when that game kicked off. We're talking 2.5 minutes after that. 2.5 minutes. They're in the end zone. And I frankly could not believe it. I had felt that this game was going to be close early on. I didn't anticipate the Broncos getting the best of the Bills that quickly, that easily. And that's exactly what they did. So if you're watching, of course, you're 2.5 minutes in, you're immediately thinking to yourself, well, if this rookie quarterback can come in 2.5 minutes into the game on his first drive on the 4th or 5th play, drop one in the bucket and score an opening touchdown on a team that he's damn near double-digit dogs to, we're going to be in for a shootout potentially. We're going to be in for a ball game. We might get more than we bargained for. The Buffalo Bills would go on a 31-0 run after that initial drive by the Denver Broncos, by that initial touchdown by the Denver Broncos, after the initial 2.5 minutes of the football game. The Denver Broncos would not score another point. And to be 100% honest with you, they really wouldn't get that close to scoring another point other than the field goal right before half that doinked off the upright and fell back onto the field of the Ralph. It was utter domination on both ends. It didn't quite feel like it through the first 30 minutes of football. The Bills were able to move the ball with relative ease. They weren't cashing in for touchdowns other than, of course, the initial touchdown by James Cook, but only 10 points at half. And if that field goal doesn't doink off the upright and fall back out onto the field, we're talking about a tie ball game going into half. And when you think back on this game, it's honestly kind of crazy that that was the scenario. The Bills were losing in the beginning of this game. The Bills were damn near tied with these guys at halftime, only up by 3. But what have we talked about with these Buffalo Bills all year long? Second half dominance. I don't think there's been a better team in the league in the second half than Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. I believe I heard a stat earlier. When it comes to the spreads and the totals of the game, the odds and whatnot, you can take the odds on the full game, in which yesterday the Bills were an 8.5 point favorite, but you can do other separate bets as well. And you can bet on the first half of the game or the second half of the game. Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills are 15-2 against the spread in the second half in 2024. It's just a good indicator to represent how dominant this team has been coming out of the half. Now, one of the concerns, the other angle to that is it hasn't been as electric, of course, in the first half. And we've seen that put them in tough spots this year. Not many, but some. And ultimately, those are the games that they lost. We saw the slow start against the Rams, and they just could not overcome the amount of points the Rams were scoring based on how they started off the game. We saw the slow start against the Houston Texans, and ultimately when they started to come back, they ran out of time at the end. And then Baltimore, who we'll talk about in a little bit here, of course, that game in totality just never got back on track. Never really was on track to begin with. But what they were able to do coming out at halftime was impeccable. And really, when you look back on this game, it never felt as though going into half, the game was as close as it was, at least to me. Being in the stadium, the energy was high, the vibes were there. I personally was never worried. Even though the Bills had to settle for a field goal on their first drive, even though they were only up by 3 going into half, the vibe of that game, it never really emphasized to me a need for concern. They just felt like the better team immediately after that first drive. Initial tip of the cap, of course, to the defense. And let's start there. What a bounce back. Think about the mental aspect of this, right? You start the game, it's do or die. And all of a sudden you're trailing. And now you might be thinking, oh, are we in for a letdown here? We're big favorites. We're playing a rookie here. Are we going to be the reason we cost our team? We let them score that easily? Folks, this defense would not allow those Broncos to do damn near anything the rest of the game. And I mean anything. I thought this game essentially kind of went how I thought, but way more dominant on the Bills' end and way less production by Denver. I had this game being close early and then the Bills pulling away late. That's what happened. But I didn't think that would result in the Denver Broncos only scoring 7 points. I had this game at around 28-17. The fact that they scored on their initial drive and never sniffed it again is impeccable. And when you're looking at Bo Nix's numbers in particular, you had, 50 yards come on that one touchdown throw alone? He would finish with 144 yards in only 13 completions. 13-22 for 144 yards. I had also thought, if I'm a Broncos fan, going into this game, we know that the Bills, if there's one thing that you can do on this defense, or at least should want to do on this defense, is run the football. And there's a variety of reasons for that. One, I think based on the way that this defense has played this year, you're more likely to succeed in the run game than you are in the pass game. Two, you have a rookie quarterback. Take as much off the shoulders of him as possible. Alleviate the pressure of him. Try and get the run game going by doing so. And then above anything else, keep 17 on the sideline. The more effective you are in running the football, the less likely Josh Allen's going to be out there dominating the football game. The crazy thing here is they couldn't pass. They couldn't run. You're looking at Bo Nix's stat line. Say you didn't know the score. You're looking at Bo Nix's stat line, 144 yards. You would assume, all right, well, they had to have had at least a decent day running the football. 79 yards on the ground. And Bo Nix was the leading rusher. And if you watched all the way till the end, the majority of those, a good amount of those rush yards, I guess you could say majority because they only had 79 rush yards. A good amount of those rush yards came in garbage time where the Bills were kind of just backing up, knowing the game was over, and Bo Nix took advantage of the wide open middle of the field and ran the ball down the field, getting down towards enemy, getting into Bills territory. What do you think Bo Nix ran for on that final drive there, or one of the second to last drive there? I don't know, 30, 40 yards? In reality, outside of garbage time, I mean, did this team have more than 30 legitimate rush yards? Your leading rusher in terms of a running back, Javonte Williams, only got 7 carries for 29 total yards. If it wasn't for Bo Nix's legs, and he had it going a little bit early on, but it mostly came when this game was kind of in hand, the rushing yards from Bo Nix. He had 29 yards from Javonte Williams, and you had a combined 7 yards from the rest of the team not named Bo Nix. Couldn't run it, couldn't throw it. The reason, however, that they couldn't do any of that is because they did not have any time to do that. The domination of time of possession yesterday was remarkable. And this is why I always had thought going into the playoffs that, yes, the Bills' defense, if there's going to be a liability, and we'll talk about that throughout the week here, of course, as we go up against a Baltimore Ravens team that just ran for 300 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We're going up against the Baltimore team who potentially has the greatest running quarterback of all time and a first ballot Hall of Famer at the running back position. The best way to mitigate that is playing offense at a high level. And I had felt going into the playoffs here, yes, the potential Achilles heel for the Bills could be the run D. But the best defense in this situation is offense. And that's pretty much what this game came down to. The Bills had over 41 minutes of time of possession in this ballgame. 41 minutes. That is insanity. Just shy of 42 minutes, actually. 17 seconds shy of 42 minutes of time of possession. These Broncos had the ball for just over 18 minutes in the ballgame. So not only could they not run, could they not throw,
They never had the time to even attempt to really do so. Huge credit to the Bills defense for not allowing them to move the sticks. They were 1 of 3 on 4th down and 2 of 9 on 3rd down. In order to get them off the field, you have to cash in on the money downs. The Bills defense did that. But when the Bills offense got the ball back, they never relinquished it. They punted 1 time. The Bills punted 1 single time. So when you pair the Bills defense's ability to step up on 4th down and 3rd down with the Bills offensive ability to just never give the ball back, the Broncos really never stood a chance off of that opening drive. And the reason they scored the only points that they did is essentially a broken play that was wide open that they cashed in on. They didn't come close to having anything else to put points up on the board other than a missed field goal. They had no time, and the time that they did had, the time that they were given, the Bills defense shut them down completely. This Broncos team, people are going to look at this, and you're going to hear it throughout the week. Rookie quarterback, lucky to be there. We're terrible last year. This Broncos team was no slouch. In fact, so much so that I think a lot of us had some nerves going into this game. Not necessarily that we thought the Bills were going to lose, but you got to be honest with me. You had to have thought the Broncos were going to keep this game closer than they did. I did. I thought that at the very least, the way I had been watching Bo Nix play recently, I thought they were going to put up some points. On that defense of the Bills, based on how Bo Nix was playing, I had thought that they were going to be able to put up at least enough to get into the teens. The fact that this team was held to under 10 points, I would not have guessed. Remarkable performance by the Buffalo Bills defense, and even more remarkable performance, in my opinion, by the offense, really giving the defense a day off. The Bills defense only had to play 18 minutes of football in this game. 18 minutes of football with what? I don't know. 5-6 minutes of that being in utter garbage time. How much legitimate football did the Bills defense have to play in this game? 13 minutes? We're talking less than a quarter of the game the Bills defense legitimately had to be out there on their A game. In the playoffs, I don't care who you're playing. Rookie quarterback, 7 seed, lucky to be there. I don't give a damn. I mean, this Broncos team, we had watched them destroy a borderline playoff team in the Atlanta Falcons 38-6, right? Put up 41 points on the Browns, who have a decent defense. Put up 27 on another playoff team in the Chargers, right? Take the Bengals to overtime, who are on the cusp of getting into the playoffs. And I know it was the Z team last week against the Chiefs, but they put up 38 points, and Bo Nix was slinging the ball all over the field. I know, believe me, I know that they were playing the absolute practice squad of the Kansas City Chiefs, but he was still dropping dimes everywhere. This defense stepped up big time. Big time. How big of a motivation had that had to have been yesterday going into a game this upcoming Sunday, where you know the Bills defense is going to have to play probably the best game of the year in order to help their offense get the W over the Baltimore Ravens. Matt DeVideo coming in with a super chat. Z-Bot, what's up? Happy Victory Monday. Hope you had a great time at the game. How about them Bills, baby? Woo! Cannot wait to see what happens next Sunday. Go Bills. You and I both. Matt, appreciate the super chat. Hope you enjoyed the game. I had an absolute ball. It was me, my dad's buddy Mike. Got to meet up with my brother and sister-in-law. Got to meet up with a couple of college friends. We had an absolute blast. How could you not have? The environment was great. It was a little colder than I thought it was going to be. The wind was whipping a little bit. It was cold, but nothing alleviates that cold, right? Nothing warms the soul more than the Buffalo Bills going out and doing what they did yesterday. And like I said, even in the first half where it just didn't feel like it was going to end the way that it did, I did not ever have any nerves. And I think a lot of that had to do with, one, the Bills' ability to dominate the line of scrimmage on offense, the way they were running the football. And 2, the way the defense was playing. It just never gave a vibe after that first drive that the Denver Broncos offensively were going to be able to find a way to go and take advantage of really anything, go and take a lead, try to control the football game. I don't know how you guys felt. Let me know in the chat. But even at halftime, I wasn't overly concerned I was more so waiting for it to get going. I just didn't realize it was going to get going the way that it did. Isaiah coming in, the national anthem flyover and that Kyle Williams speech. Had my voice gone before the game even started? Yeah. The environment was off the charts. Kyle Williams is a legend. And it's playoff football in Buffalo. Like I said, you don't need any more added motivation than that. That place was rocking. And it's always an absolute privilege to be a part of that type of environment. Place was packed. Crowd was all in. The team was feeding off of it. What a day for the Bills yesterday. Just a dominant W. And really suffocated another playoff team for roughly 30 full minutes of football in the second half. So we talked about the defense, and it was really just a shutdown effort. Shutdown effort completely. Able to sack Bo Nix twice. Forced them to punt 4 times. And like I said, the key here was the money downs. Holding them to 1 of 3 on 4th down, 2 of 9 on 3rd down. I mean, the Broncos only had 13 first downs in this entire football game. And like I mentioned earlier, the best way to define the dominance of this team was the fact that the Bills' defense really only had to play about 13 or so minutes of legitimate football in a 60-minute game. And that had, of course, a lot to do with the fact that the Bills' offense did exactly what you wanted to see of them. I mean, this was, if there's one word to define it, it would be efficient. And I think that we've used that word a lot throughout Joe Brady's tenure here as the offensive coordinator of these Buffalo Bills. And I had said going into it, Rico and I had talked about this, and he said, what do you want to see from Joe Brady? And I said, I want to see what I've seen from him since he's taken over. Joe Brady reads a room terrifically. He reads the vibe of the game impeccably. Far better than I thought Ken Dorsey did, and I think it was a real big switch for the Bills from where they were under Dorsey compared to where they are now under Brady. The best example I can give you is his ability to know when something's working, I'm going to stick with it until I'm proven they can stop it. And if they can't stop it, well, then I'm just not going to stop doing it. The Bills ran the football in this game 44 times. 44 times. Before our eyes, ever since Joe Brady's taken over, and really ever since the drafting of James Cook and the realization that this offensive line might be one of the best in football, this team has been as much of a running football team as they've been a high-powered passing offense with one of the greatest quarterbacks in the sport. I mean, that's the truth. This Buffalo Bills offense is just as much predicated on the run anymore than they are on the arm of Josh Allen. And that's a beautiful thing. That is a beautiful thing. We've talked about it for a while now. They can win in a multitude of different ways. Yesterday, offensively, they won with the perfect blend of domination on the ground and then Josh Allen, when he did have to throw, just being as efficient as you possibly could be. Allen finished the day 20 of 26 for 272, averaging just over 10 yards an attempt. 2 touchdowns with a passer rating of 135. And, of course, the key here, no turnovers, which they continuously do week in and week out. Had one of the best turnover differentials in the history of the sport this year. And we know at this time of year, this is the time of year where you want a trend like that to continue. And they don't put themselves in harm's way. The best way to do that is to do exactly what they did yesterday. James Cook, as I mentioned in talking about, a guy, in talking about this team offensively and how outside of Josh Allen, I find him to be the biggest X factor that the Bills always needed. Now, you couldn't do this without the play of the offensive line. And I think that if there's one thing that stood out yesterday, it's this Bills offensive line. Go back and watch the game. Whether it's run block or pass block, these guys are off the charts. Now, I know Allen took a couple of sacks in Sunday afternoon's game. But what was that? That was the second time he had been sacked in the last 8 games. You're going to give a pass on that when you understand that the Denver Broncos D line is one of the best in the sport. That is a defensive line that led the league in sacks this year. You knew at some point they were going to get theirs. A defensive line as good as theirs, you can't completely shut them down all game. So yes, they did get 2 sacks. But if we're talking about who won that battle, it was the Bills by knockout. If you go back and watch that game and watch the trenches, that really seemed to be the ultimate difference in the game. And that allowed the Bills to hold on to the football for damn near 42 minutes. We're not talking about going up against the dredges of the league here in defensive line play. I understand that's the 7 seed coming to town. But there's no 7 seed about it when it comes to that defensive line. That was was probably the best part of this Denver Broncos team. You don't lead the league in sacks by accident. That D-line was no joke. And man, I thought the Bills' offensive line took it to them. You don't run the ball 44 times if you aren't getting the results through the trenches, and they were getting the results. James Cook took advantage of it. Josh Allen took advantage of it. Ty Johnson took advantage of it. Buffalo Bills finished with 210 yards on the ground. You know, if you look at Josh Allen's stat line in this, you're going to see 20 of 26, 272 yards, 2 scores, no interceptions, and a passer rating of 135. You're going to look at that. You're already going to think the Bills offense had a good day. All you would have to see is Josh Allen's pass line to think, all right, this Bills offense probably had a pretty solid outing. That's not even factoring in that they ran it for 5 yards a clip on 44 carries. The Bills ran over 70 plays. 70 plays. The formula in which they won yesterday, they're not going to be able to do it exactly the same way next week because the Baltimore Ravens are a far superior football team to the Denver Broncos. But the formula yesterday, if they can somehow replicate it, it's not going to equate to the exact result. But if they can somehow replicate what they did yesterday, I don't know if you're losing to anybody. Just like how I had mentioned earlier, I had thought the strategy might be from Sean Payton, run the football, keep Allen off the field. They weren't able to execute that. The Bills can execute that. And that in turn can mean next week, if they're doing what they did yesterday, that's less Derrick Henry on the field. That's less Lamar Jackson on the field. That's more likely a Bills W. And what we saw from the Pittsburgh Steelers against the Baltimore Ravens is kind of like what we saw from Denver against the Bills. There was no ability to move the football for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They had 2 first downs going into the half against Baltimore on Saturday afternoon. 2 first downs. So no wonder it was 21-0 at half. In fact, I thought that game should have been far more of a blowout than it was. The score does not indicate 28-14. It was an utter blowout. It felt like it should have been way worse. They couldn't move the ball. The Ravens had the ball the whole game. They win going away. The Bills can move the football. And Baltimore's defense has been playing a lot better than they were in the beginning of the year. But you could make an argument that Denver's defense is just as good, if not better, especially in the up front. So the whole point here is if the Bills were able to dominate the line of scrimmage the way that they were against Denver, if they were able to run the ball the way that they were against Denver, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to do that against Baltimore. Because I don't think Baltimore's defense is much superior to that of the Denver Broncos, especially in the trenches where the Bills were able to dictate the football game. It's not going to be the same outcome because I guarantee you the Baltimore Ravens aren't going 2 for 9 on 3rd down. So you're going to have less chances to hang on to the football. But I think when the Bills do get their chances, based on what we saw yesterday and really based on what we've seen all year, this wasn't an anomaly. The Bills have been able to run the football all season long. It's no wonder why James Cook now has 2 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons. It's no wonder why James Cook damn near led the league in touchdowns. This is not an anomaly. This is who the Bills are now. The Bills' offense is a high-scoring offense led by one of the best quarterbacks in the sport that at the same time is also just as elite of a run offense as they are a passing offense. All year long, when you hear about running offenses, you hear about the Ravens and you hear about the Eagles. The reason I feel like you don't get that same type of talk about the Bills' run game is because of Josh Allen. The reality is the Bills' offense, in terms of running the football, has been one of the best in the league. And you saw it on display again yesterday. And it's what I love so much about Joe Brady. He sees them winning in the trenches early. He sees them popping off 5-6 yards a carry. He doesn't go away from it. It's less on the shoulders of Josh Allen. It's more on the shoulders of the opposing defense. It's more on the shoulders of the opposing offense, having to make sure they take advantage of every opportunity that they get, because if they don't, well, the Bills are going to get the ball back again. They're going to run it just like they did the previous drive. They're going to tick 8-9 minutes off the clock. And by the time you blink, the game's almost over. You're trailing by 2 scores and you're out of luck. You're screwed. I mean, the fact that the Bills ran the ball 44 times, scored 31 points, and it still kind of felt like they didn't really have their A-plus game the whole game is saying something. I mean, when you really think about it, the first half, it's not like the Bills had their A game. It wasn't like that was the best offensive performance we've seen. They only had 10 points at half. And like I said, they're a missed field goal away from that game being tied at half. And they still find a way to get to 31. I mean, these Bills are unconscious when it comes to scoring 31 points. If it wasn't for that dud that they played against the Patriots, where they won 24-21, I mean, let me just go back and look here, because I can't even keep track anymore. I forget. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 9, 10, 11. The Bills, with Josh Allen playing quarterback, the Bills have scored 30-plus points in 10 of their last 11 games, with the one outlier being the 24 points against the Patriots, where they really just played like a really mediocre day of football, and Josh Allen did not play well. I mean, Josh Allen had 154 yards in that game, and he was 16-29, and that was a 24-point outing. Offensively, that outing, a 24-point outing in a W, that offensive performance was the worst that the Bills have had since playing the Jets on Monday Night Football on October 14th. Today, folks, is January 13th. The Bills have not scored 30 points outside of one game in 3 months. 3 months. And they do it in a variety of different ways. But yesterday against the defense, if you're going into that game with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix, you're thinking that the way the Broncos are going to be able to stay in it was their defense. Can they force Josh Allen and these Bills to not score 30? Can they force a few key stops and allow the offense to take advantage? This Bills defense, or this Bills offense, embarrassed, in my opinion, this Broncos D. They completely out-physicaled them. They completely rolled him in the trenches. They did whatever they wanted on him. And that also resulted in a couple of amazing down the field plays. And that's the beauty of this Bills offense. Not only can you run the football the way that they do, but then they can also still give you those splash plays that you've come to know and love from Josh Allen. And he had multiple yesterday. He had multiple. That 4th down touchdown to Ty Johnson, I mean, we're talking all-time stuff there. We're talking all-time stuff. There might be 3 quarterbacks, and they're all playing right now. There might be 3 quarterbacks in the history of the game that can make that play. Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes. It's 4th and 1. Not a thing is open. Nothing is open. Allen buys about 5 full seconds in the pocket. Not only is nothing open, but there's no lane to run either. And he puts that only where Ty Johnson can catch it. Somehow, I have no idea how Ty Johnson does catch it. I have no idea how he kept his 1 foot in. I mean, he kept his foot in by a legitimate centimeter. But that play right there is just a perfect example of this Bills' offensive ability to do pretty much anything they want. Anything. It's 4th and 1. You have the complete field covered. He can't run it. He's got nobody open. And yet it still results in what? A 25-yard touchdown? You can only throw your hands up in the air and say, I don't know what to do. What am I supposed to do here? And then when you try to defend the run, right? Getting run out all game, when you try to stop it, well, that's when you hit Curtis Samuel for a, 55-yard touchdown. That's when you hit Dalton Kincaid down the left side for a 35-yard bomb. They can do it all. I mean, the fact that Josh Allen was 20 of 26 yesterday for 272 and it still felt like he didn't really have to do a whole lot is remarkable. And the moments that he did have were tremendous. I mean, like I said, that Kincaid play, that Samuel play, the Ty Johnson play, which I think was the play of the afternoon out of all the games. And mind you, this is what is insane to me. I will never get over this with this offense. I just can't believe it. And this is honestly the perfect example of what this offense has become in terms of being able to run the football and being able to score points. But in a way that's just so unique and so conducive to winning football games. They score 31 points. Allen goes 20 of 26 for 272. And Amari Cooper and Keon Coleman combined for 3 catches and 13 yards. You got your early second round wide receiver and one of the recent greats at the position in Amari Cooper combining for 3 catches and 13 yards. And Allen still finishes just south of 300 yards with 2 touchdowns, 135 rating, and 31 points on the board. The distribution of the football, 8 different receivers. James Cook having a day. Allen using his legs. Getting the ball out quick. Allowing that offensive line to kind of dictate the game. I mean, that is winning football yesterday to a T. And I think it is precisely what they have to do this upcoming week. Now, you're probably saying, well, of course it is, Bot. They had 41 minutes of time of possession. They scored 31 points. They won by 24. Of course, it's what they have to do. That's not what I mean. What I mean is they have to approach the game, in my opinion, with a very similar game plan. James Cook heavy, Allen's legs heavy, not turning the football over by pretty much running very foolproof type passing offense. I mean, really, whenever Allen took a shot, it seemed really wide open or it was single coverage. Allen never forced the football once, never put it in harm's way. The key to me is being able to dictate the trenches. I think the Bills might be able to do that again. And if they can, I mean, this is, and it's funny that what I'm saying right now that I think the Bills need to do is exactly what I'd be saying if I was a Baltimore Ravens fan that I think they need to do. If I'm Baltimore, I'd want to do the exact same thing I just did against Pittsburgh, and that's dominate time of possession and run the damn football. They both pretty much had very similar game plans that wound up resulting in very similar results. Damn near 30 points for Baltimore, double-digit victory, massive domination in time of possession, roll the opposing team. The only difference in that one is Baltimore had their domination on full display in the first half, not so much in the second half. The Bills had their domination on full display in the second half, not so much the first half. I mean, to give you a perfect example of just how closely aligned those two games were by both of these teams just flipped. The Bills scored 10 points in the first half of their game, 21 points in the second half. They scored 21-0 in the second half. In the Ravens game, well, what do you know? They scored 21 points in the first half, and the Steelers scored 0 points in the first half. The Ravens scored 7 in the second half. The Steelers scored 14. It was very similar by both teams, and both of these teams are going to want to do the same thing. I'd argue both of them are going to be capable of doing the same thing. It's all going to come down to one, who makes the least amount of mistakes, whether that be penalties, whether that not be converting on 4th and 3rd down, right? And really, I think it might also come down to who the hell has the ball last. Because I think both of these teams know exactly how they want to play. I think you just saw how they want to play. I think both of them are going to be capable of executing it. It's going to come down to the very minute things. There's a reason why, as we go over and take a look right now, if you haven't looked already, right now on BetUS, this game is a pick'em. If you don't know what a pick'em means, so as you know, I typically give you the line. So, for instance, the Bills were an 8.5-point favorite against the Broncos. Pick'em means there's no favorite. It's a coin toss type game, as they like to say. There is no favorite in this game. This game is considered to be so evenly matched. It's considered to be so tight that they're currently on BetUS is not a favorite to win the game. They both have equal odds to win it. That's what this game's viewed as. And I think it's dead on. I think both these teams have been playing their best football here down the stretch last couple of months. I think both these teams are exceptionally good at running the ball. Both these teams have an MVP quarterback. Both these teams are very well coached. Both these teams are having incredible culture. I mean, they're very similar in nature in just about every single way. And that's why when you look at the line on BetUS, it's no secret as to why this game is currently a pick'em. And I wouldn't be shocked if that's why it comes down to the final possession, because that's what I think that this type of game is going to be like. And of course, we're going to talk about that a ton throughout the week, a ton. Hopefully going to have a Baltimore creator or two on this week, too, to get their perspective on things. Because in reality, folks, this is, the Super Bowl and everything. Obviously, it's you can make an argument. This is the game of the year. That's the game of the year. In terms of matchups, in terms of quarterback duels, it does not get better than what we have slated for us at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday afternoon in the AFC divisional round. I'm interested to see if this line moves. The Bills opened up as a 1.5-point favorite. It's now down to a pick 'em. Interested to see if it moves. Keep an eye on it throughout the week. If you want to get in on it before it does move, the promo code's YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% sign-up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit. 125% bonus on your next two after that. Really a masterclass yesterday. When just you walked away from it feeling so good. And I had said I could not believe the easiness of the football game in terms of how it felt. Like, I'm walking out of there with my dad, and I just kept saying, man, I can't get over how easy that felt. Even though it wasn't necessarily easy for the first 30 minutes of the game, it just felt easy. Everything felt easy. Things were coming easy for the defense. It was coming easy for the run game. It was coming easy for the pass game. It was coming easy for James Cook. It was coming easy for Josh Allen. It was coming easy for Khalil Shakir. Dalton Kincaid, big day. But I can't get over the fact that this team is able to do what they're doing, and it's not in the way that you would ever have expected. Like, back when you were talking, when you're talking with Stephon Diggs and you're talking with Cole Beasley, back in the initial Josh Allen days or the initial rise of Josh Allen, you're thinking about electric bomb down the field type plays. You're thinking of the big bomb to John Brown, the big bomb to Gabe Davis. You have Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper combined for 3 catches and 13 yards. You distribute the ball to 8 different guys. You run the ball damn near 20 times more than you throw it, yet you still almost throw for 300 yards. You run for over 200 yards. You damn near combine for 500 total yards of offense. You score 31 points, and this is on a exceptional defense. Once again, this isn't like you're playing the biggest sieve of all time on the defensive side of the football. And that's why it's impressive. You can argue all you want about how whatever, they beat the Broncos. They're the 7th seed. They have a rookie quarterback. That's fine. That's got nothing to do with the defensive side of things. It's got nothing to do with it. That, to me, was where it was going to be, possibly made a game. And then it was really going to depend that from there if Bo Nix was going to be able to do anything from it. But it wound up being nothing. Bo Nix couldn't do anything. The defense couldn't do anything. The whole team could not do anything. I mean, I had figured Sean Payton was going to have this team at least doing something. Something. I can't get over it. I'm going back and looking here. I got to squint here. Here we go. Yeah. I mean, my God. Yeah, I thought it would. This was the number 3 scoring defense in football in 2024. The number 3 scoring defense. In terms of yards per game allowed, this was the 7th total defense. So anybody this week that wants to tell you, of course the Bills roll. Josh Allen always beats the weak teams. Josh Allen always beats the crap teams. Yeah, they always win in the wild card. That's because they never play anybody. take the idea behind the rookie quarterback out of it. And if I were to just tell you, like if we're not focusing on offense at all, and I were to just tell you that in the playoffs, the Bills are going up against the number 3 scoring defense and the number 7 overall defense in the league, would you not think, hey, could be a tough outing? They would put up 500 yards of offense, 41 minutes of time of possession, and 31 points. That is impressive. I don't give a damn who you're playing. It's got nothing to do with a rookie quarterback out there or the fact that this team was the 7th seed. That is a damn good defense. They were allowing roughly 18 points a game. Bills hung 31 on them. They were allowing roughly 317 yards a game. The Bills damn near put up 500 on them. And this is the kicker. Above all of that, I mean, when we're going down the line of stats here, this is the number 3 overall rushing defense. And this is where I have hope for next week in the Bills' ability to do what they just did. The Denver Broncos were allowing less than 100 yards of rushing offense per game, good for number 3 in the entire league. Going into the playoffs, they were allowing 96 yards of ground in 2024. The Bills more than doubled the average in which the Denver Broncos allowed per game throughout the regular season. More than doubled. And this is where you have confidence because the Baltimore Ravens rank as the number 1 rushing defense in the NFL. They allow only 80 yards of rushing offense per game. So if the Bills had just struggled mightily running the football against the Broncos, you would go into the Baltimore game saying, Bills couldn't run against that rush D, and they're very comparable in terms of the numbers. I don't see how they're going to be able to do it against Baltimore. Consequently, I feel the opposite right now. If the Bills were able to just do that to Denver's defense, why wouldn't they be able to do it to Baltimore's defense? I think that that's just a perfect example of how tremendous this offensive line is playing right now and how amazing James Cook has been for this team. It's the perfect example. And, you know, the other thing, too, here, and here's the other difference. In terms of just these defenses that the Bills will be going up against in the last 2 games here, the running defense for both the Broncos and the Ravens are very comparable in terms of the numbers. However, the Broncos have a far superior passing defense to the Ravens' passing defense. The Ravens finished the 2024 regular season with the worst passing defense in the league, only behind Jacksonville. 31st in the league. Denver was middle of the pack. So you already know that you can run the ball against a top 3 running defense. You already know that. And you already know you can throw the ball against a mid-tier defense. What are they going to be able to do in the air against a defense that's twice as bad based on the numbers in the Baltimore Ravens? Because Allen just had if you were to look up efficient, that is what Allen was on Sunday afternoon. You're signing up for 20 of 26, 272, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions any day of the week. That's not even factoring in the 46 yards on the ground on 8 carries. And I'll tell you what, those 8 carries for 46 yards, I thought that was somewhat limited. I thought they were going to run them more. Allen will be running the ball, I personally believe, more this upcoming Sunday. Kind of similar to what you saw Lamar Jackson do this past weekend. Lamar Jackson ran the ball 15 times against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 15 times for almost 90 yards. I think you're going to see Josh Allen have at least double-digit rushes in this upcoming game, and I think you're going to see those numbers go up as well in terms of the yards. Willie's asking, where are you seeing these stats? They're on any website. You can just go on ESPN or NFL.com. All those stats are on there. And then if you want to go based on ranking it based on like I was just doing best or worst.
Buffalo Fanatics, what's going on? This is Pierre the Kingpin, and I wanted to talk to you today about Cigars International, which is the ultimate destination for premium homemade cigars. Known as the industry leader, Cigars International offers the largest selection, unbeatable prices, and a customer service experience that's second to none. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned vet, Cigars International makes enjoying cigars easy, approachable, and fun. Cigars International is the go-to retailer for all things cigars, with the biggest selection of premium homemade cigars available anywhere. Cigars International offers unbeatable deals and discounts, making it easy to stock up on your favorite or try something new without breaking the bank. With fast free shipping and their 100% satisfaction guarantee, you can shop with confidence knowing that Cigars International stands behind every order. They have good relationship with vendors that helps provide great low prices. Whether you're new to cigars or a seasoned pro, Cigars International makes it easy to find the right cigar with helpful guides, staff reviews, and expert advice. It's not just about cigars. Cigars International also offers a wide range of accessories and more to elevate your smoking experience. Check out the great deals every day at cigarsinternational.com. That's cigars, CIGARS, international.com. Use code FANATICS at checkout for 20% off your order of $50 or more, plus free shipping. Or visit www.cigarsinternational.com/fanatics, and the discount will automatically apply. Again, use code FANATICS at checkout for 20% off your order of $50 or more, plus free shipping. Or visit www.cigarsinternational.com/fanatics, and the discount will automatically apply.
Or whatever, you just click the category. So if it's rush yards or it's points per game, you click that, then it'll organize it from top to bottom, best to worst, based on that individual category. I mean, Allen just had an incredible day. And it's crazy because it didn't, outside of the couple of plays, like it didn't feel like and this is why I love this team right now. I love this team right now. It never once felt like, oh man, down 7-0, or felt like, hey, Josh Allen's going to have to put the cape on. Never felt that way. It really never felt that way. And yet he still had like put the cape on type numbers or a put the cape on type game. I mean, he had well over 300 total yards in the game. Multiple scores. So much to love about this team right now. And the fact that the defense was able to step up yesterday, too, is an added bonus. The way I've looked at this postseason, since we've, obviously known that the division was clinched and we were going into it, the way I've looked at it, it's all going to come down to what the offense has. And I think yesterday was the perfect example of knowing that the Bills' offense is about as elite as it gets. And in order for the defense to have a good day, I think the offense has to have one of their best days in terms of how they're going to defend the teams they're going to have to defend, like the Baltimore Ravens, in order to win a Super Bowl. And I think yesterday it was just the absolute perfect, I don't want to say practice round, it's still the playoffs, but it was the perfect trial run for what you're going to have to do moving forward here. They executed it to perfection. I don't think, I can't even fathom how unbelievable damn near 42 minutes of time of possession is. And like I said, you're not going to have that amount of time of possession against Baltimore. Their offense is too good. But can you replicate a similar style game plan on offense? I think you can. And it's what they failed to do against them the last time. Now, I have to rewatch that game in detail this week, and I'm going to do a preview episode at some point this week. And I'm going to rewatch that game, kind of go back and really kind of look at what went wrong in terms of how it was able to be derailed so badly. But my initial thoughts here are the Ravens are going to be able to run the football. They're going to. No one's stopping them. I don't care if it's the Bills or it's the 85 Bears. No one is stopping this rushing tandem of Lamar and Derrick Henry. That's a given. But you could say right now, I don't know if anybody's going to be able to stop what the Bills kind of have going on right now offensively either. No one has. As I mentioned to you earlier, Out of their last 11 games, they've scored 30 plus in 10 of them. No one stopped it. I don't expect Baltimore to either. That's why I think both of these teams are going to be able to move the football. The question, though, however, is will that result in a high-scoring game? And I think that might be where there could be a common misconception. I don't know if it's going to be high-scoring because I think both of these teams are going to value long possessions. I don't think either of these teams have any intention of scoring on 3-4 minute drives. They're going to want to do exactly what they just did this past weekend. The Ravens had a drive against the Steelers where they ran the ball 13 consecutive times. They did not throw the ball one singular time. They ran it 13 times all the way down the field, scored a touchdown. That's exactly what they're going to want to do. The Bills, like I mentioned to you, how many times? 44 rushes, damn near 20 more than they threw it, 42 minutes of time of possession. That's exactly what they're going to want to do. I think both of these teams offensively are capable of doing just about whatever they want against just about anybody. And I think both of these teams are going to want to have elongated possessions. So I don't think that that's going to result in some 35-32 type game. I could very likely see this game, despite the fact that both of these offenses are about as good as it gets in the league. I could very likely see this game being 24-21, just because I think there's a style in which both of these offenses are going to want to play. To me, it's all going to come down to the one or two things that one team does more than the other. Oftentimes, this is exactly what it comes down to when the Bills play the Chiefs. Outside of the AFC Championship game, where we know the Bills were not quite ready to compete at the level of Kansas City, the Bills have played with the Chiefs tooth and nail all the way to the end of all of these games. All of them. It's the one or two little things that they did not do that the Chiefs did that ultimately end up resulting in a very narrow margin victory for Kansas City. That is exactly how I feel that this game is going to go. It's all going to depend on who does those one or two little things, the Ravens or the Bills. That's how I see it. But man, are we in for a show. I mean, it's one of those games where even people who are not a fan of either team know that this one is going to be one they cannot miss no matter what. This is must-see television. This is a ratings buster. You look at the 4 games this upcoming weekend. I know we still have one more to go in about an hour from now between the Vikings and the Rams. But the matchups that are set up for this upcoming weekend, the Bills game is bar none the best. It will be the best probably for the remainder of the year here, depending on, obviously whoever wins here playing the Chiefs, that's going to be an incredible game. But you in all likelihood have the two MVP, the MVP and the runner-up here going toe-to-toe. The two best offenses, in my opinion, right now, at least in the AFC, going toe-to-toe. I mean, if we're talking offense this past week, you could argue that the Philadelphia Eagles had the best offense in the league. They certainly didn't look like it on Sunday. I mean, based on this past weekend, the Bills and the Ravens, if you base it based on this past weekend and really about the last couple of months here, the Bills and the Ravens probably have the two best offenses in football. Probably they have I mean, I don't even think it's probably. They do. For 2024, they have the two best quarterbacks in football. I mean, this is must-see television. This is going to be an absolute movie. How could you even put it into words? I'm nervous as hell, but here's my initial takeaway. There's a couple of things that I think differ in this game compared to last time. One, it's the home field advantage. The home field advantage is something. It is something. Every single team this past weekend won at home except for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who had every opportunity in the world to win that game, and they blew it. You had Baker fumbling that exchange to McMillan, giving the ball right back to Washington after an amazing fourth down stop. You had them foul that botched snap on the fourth down there, the third down there, and 1 to continue the drive. Bucks could have won that game. It felt like they kind of blew it, even though you got to give credit, man. My God. Same circumstance Bo Nix was in yesterday was exactly what Jaden Daniels was in yesterday. And he went out there and balled. And he did so in a huge moment. He went down there with 5 minutes left and never let the Bucks touch the ball again. But outside of the Bucks, who very well could have won that game, every single team this past weekend won at home. So I think that the The home field advantage is certainly something. You also know for a fact that the Bills are not scoring only 10 points again. There's just no way. There's no way they're only scoring 10. The lowest amount of points they've scored since mid-October is 24. And throughout that time span, they've scored 30 plus in every single game but one. They're not scoring 10 points. You also did not have Milano in that game, Teron Johnson in that game, Terrell Bernard in that game. I'm not the one to cry wolf when it comes to injuries, but when you don't have your three arguable best defensive players, yeah, it's a fact. It's not an excuse. It's a fact. So that's a difference. Now, the other thing, too, is I think that the Baltimore defense is playing far better than it was at that time, and the Bills only scored 10 at that time. Beginning of the year, the Baltimore defense was not great. Been playing real well down the stretch. I will say, though, however, the opponents that the Ravens had to play down the stretch in terms of allowing that defense to kind of play better than maybe they were earlier, it helped out a bit. You were playing a Texans team that up until Sunday, or a Saturday, I don't know where that came from, really. I really don't. But they were doing nothing offensively, and they beat the hell out of them. You played the Giants. We know what that is offensively. They played the Steelers. We know what that is offensively. We play the Browns. We really know what that is offensively. You know, they played the Eagles, who we know have one of the better offenses in the league. That was one of those games that they lost. So to round out the year, the Ravens played the Eagles, the Giants, the Steelers, the Texans, the Browns, the Steelers again in the wild card. Of all of those games, we really only have respect for one of those offenses, and it's Philly. And I don't want to discredit Houston because it seemed like they found something on Saturday afternoon. But I also know going into that Ravens game, they hadn't found anything prior to wild card round here. So you could argue that maybe the defensive numbers are propped up a bit, but I still think that it's unarguable that the defense for the Ravens is significantly better than the first time the Bills saw them. We also know that the Bills just got all out of whack. Derrick Henry scores off the jump there, and they never got it going. They went for it on that fourth down with that fake punt, didn't get it. Or was it a fake punt or was it a trick play? I can't even remember. I've completely tried to erase that game from my memory. It was disgusting. It was probably the worst loss in the last 3 years in terms of just sheer domination. I think it's no question it'll be a far better game. It'll be a far tighter game. And I really don't know. Like I said, that pick'em line to me is dead on. It could go either way. I really do think it just comes down to one or two things. And I'm talking like the littlest things. I'm talking like one of the punters shanks one and it goes to the 40 instead of the 10. I mean, just something as little as that, I think, could really flip the game. That's how tight I think this is. A kick return where one of the teams gets it out to the opposing 45 as opposed to getting it at the 35. Like just something like that. That is how tight I think it is. And you also have two quarterbacks here that have been unbelievable at everything, really. But maybe more importantly than anything, not turning the football over. Will one of these guys turn it over? Because they really haven't. All year long, no one has been better at securing the football than these two quarterbacks. Outside of course, Justin Herbert, but my God, we saw how quickly that changed on Saturday afternoon. I cannot get over how bad they played. Still can't. It's funny, too. I think we obviously have one more game to go tonight. We'll see what happens there. But I think based on the 5 games we've gotten thus far through the wild card round, the Bills and the Ravens have by far looked the best to me. Of the 10 teams that have played thus far, the Bills and the Ravens look like the 2 best teams that I've seen over the weekend. Don't you agree? It's incredibly tight, incredibly close. 2 incredible teams, 2 phenomenal teams with 2 incredible, phenomenal all-time quarterbacks. 2 incredible run games, 2 great offensive lines. Man, I mean, but it's Monday, and you still got to enjoy what the Bills did yesterday. And I just thought what they did yesterday was it was really a clinic. I gotta step back sometimes and think to myself, like, am I nervous about this game because I'm just a Bills fan and it's the playoffs, or am I legitimately nervous about this game because I think they're going to lose? And I'm talking about like the Broncos game. I never really thought they were going to lose. I think it was just more like I'm a Bills fan. I am susceptible to incredible heartbreak on an annual basis. This Broncos team has been playing pretty damn well the last month or so. They have a Hall of Fame coach. Bo Nix looks like he could really be something in this league. I just did not expect 31-7. I did not expect Denver to score on their first drive and never sniff a score again. I really did not expect the Bills to have 42 minutes of time of possession. I didn't expect them to have 500 yards of offense, and maybe I should have. I mean, really, I can't help but wonder at times whether my nerves or maybe my slight pessimism just comes from the sheer anxiety of the situation. Clearly, they didn't have any. I mean, clearly, like Cass is saying, yeah, it's just generational trauma. You know, you do the same thing year after year after year with the same result. And yeah, you can't help but let it affect your mental state. But I just thought it would be a different type of game yesterday. It did end up going kind of how I thought. It was way more dominant on both sides than I could have imagined. I thought it was going to be close in the beginning. I thought the Bills were going to pull away. That is what it ended up happening. But in the fashion in which it happened, I didn't foresee. I just didn't foresee the Bills' defense really completely eliminating anything for this Denver Broncos offense. Oftentimes you can be a little bit overzealous and say when you're describing a game and be, oh, they didn't do anything. You know, they did nothing. The Broncos had 224 total yards of offense. 224 total yards of offense. And when you factor in that they had 145 passing yards and 50 of them came on one play on the first drive, when you factor in that they had 79 rushing yards and probably 30 to 40 of them came in garbage time when the Bills were playing essentially prevent, allowing Bo Nix to have the complete middle of the field wide open to run the football. They did not have anything. They could not do anything. The Bills doubled them up in literally every single category. They quadrupled them up in third down efficiency. They doubled them up in first down. They doubled them up in total yards. Nearly doubled them up in passing yards. Tripled them up in rushing yards. It was a beatdown. That's why the first half was odd, that it didn't end up resulting in more of the second half. I think it was just the Bills, the one thing you look at in this game, the one thing that you might be like, all right, that needs to improve was probably the Bills' red zone efficiency. Settling for field goals in the red zone. You settled for a field goal early on your first drive, and then you settled for a field goal on the first drive of the second half, getting all the way down the field. There's one area where you're looking at and you're like, well, maybe that's why the game didn't feel as dominant until all of a sudden it did. That could be why. I mean, we're used to the Bills cashing those situations in for touchdowns. And I think even one of those, if even one of those go for 6 instead of 3, then instead of it being a 13-7 game in the third quarter, then you have at least a 17-7 game. And it would have felt much more conducive to the type of football we were watching, where a 2-score lead really does feel like more of a grip on the game as, of course, to obviously only a 6-point lead. It's incredible that the Broncos were even able to hold on as long as they were until the half there. I'm so excited for this upcoming week, though. And everybody else is too. I mean, that was one of those games, like as soon as you knew that was going to be the game, there wasn't a doubt in anybody's mind that was not going to be the 6:30 p.m. game Sunday. It was a guarantee. Like that's how good of a game this is. That's how big of a game this is. We're talking divisional round weekend. There's only 4 games on the slate. It's arguably the best weekend of the football season every single year. And you knew wholeheartedly, without fail, that was going to be the Sunday primetime slot, which of course is reserved for the best game of divisional round weekend. It was a no-brainer. It was a guarantee. Didn't even have to consider any other possibilities. And then outside of course, Ray Davis getting banged up, you didn't have any injuries either in that game either. It was just clean all the way through. Clean all the way through. What didn't they do right? What didn't they do well? Outside of not executing in the red zone as much as you would have liked, which I still think is something, right? Outside of not executing in terms of scoring 6 instead of 3 on a couple of their red zone trips, what didn't they do well in this game? From running it to throwing it, the pass blocking, the defense, from top to bottom. And I don't know. I just thought that Denver was going to have a bit more of a spunk to them. You're talking about a young team with a Hall of Fame coach. You would just think that they had nothing to lose and they'd go out there and kind of do that, kind of play like that. And on the first drive, it's exactly what you saw, and you would have just assumed, man, they're just playing loose. They got nothing to lose, and it never culminated again. It's so rare. I feel like you see a team come out the way that they did to then go on to do nothing at all for literally 57 additional minutes of football. Just looking at something here real quick. Let's take a look at some super chats. Richie, Bot, you're alive. Better believe it. Alive and well, Richie. He's saying we're beating the Ravens by 10. Don't worry. We played this Denver team like this on offense for a reason. Prep to keep Lamar Henry off the field. Yeah, like I mentioned, like it just felt like you don't want to say practice round, you don't want to say exhibition, but it was a tune-up. It was a warm-up for what you got ahead. Like being able to execute what they did yesterday, and I think it's the perfect simulation because you are getting a very similar defense in terms of their ability to stop the run and the ability to kind of, affect the trenches. You had the Ravens as the number one defense in terms of rushing. You had the Broncos at number 3. You prove on Sunday afternoon that you can run it with vengeance and you can run it early and often. You prove that you can dictate the football game on the ground. You've proved that you can hold on to the ball through running the football, and you prove that you can establish the pass through the football, running the football as well. I think that it was a perfectly executed game in terms of instilling confidence in a variety of different ways going into what is easily the game of the year. Trust the process. He's coming in. Hey, Bot, all I heard today was how Buffalo lost against the Ravens. And Nick Wright making fun of Buffalo. I didn't see that today. I was on the road. I was only listened to some podcasts. I didn't listen to anything that Nick Wright had to say. What did he have to say? Do this, the team together, billboard material. Yeah, I mean, if I'm Sean McDermott, we're watching that Ravens game all week. We're watching that, what was it, week 5 game, week 4 game? We're watching that all week. I think both teams are different right now. And like I said, the Bills are not scoring 10 again. This game's at home. It's in Buffalo instead of Baltimore this time. And the Bills have 3 of their biggest playmakers on defense back that they did not have in that game. This game will be different. It does not necessarily mean the Bills will win or lose, but it will be different. That is a fact. I would be legitimately stunned, beyond shocked, if the Ravens were able to win in the same fashion that they were able to beat these Buffalo Bills the first time around. Would you not all be shocked? I don't think anybody would be shocked if the Ravens won. I think there's a very fair argument that the Ravens, in terms of personnel, have the better football team. Nobody would be shocked if the Ravens won. I would be stunned if they were able to pull off what they already did against them once. Some people were saying in the chat that Nick Wright said the opposite. He was saying that Nick Wright. I mean, I got to take a look, but from what I've known when watching Nick Wright this year, he's been very high on the Bills. I mean, he's been high on the Bills. He's been higher on the Bills than just about anybody but his Chiefs. He's been very complimentary of Allen, and I think he's been very high on the Bills all year long. I don't know. I mean, you could sit here all day long and go one way or another on predicting this game. Like I said, to me, I think it's just very simple. I think it comes down to, once again, like who does the one more thing than the other team, and who does the one less errant thing than the other team. I think it's truly in the league who do very similar things well. You're not going to stop the Ravens running the football. You're not. But can you hold them to 3 instead of 6? Can you maybe force a fumble? Can you force a 4th down stop? Like, that's what it's going to come down to me. I still think that there's no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt in my mind that Derrick Henry still runs for around 100 plus yards. There's no doubt in my mind that Lamar Jackson's going to get his rushing yards, that he's going to get his open guys. There's no doubt. But Josh Allen's going to get his. James Cook's going to get his too. So what's the difference in the ball game going to be? A 4th down, a fumble, an interception, a kick return, something, a flag. I don't know. I mean, really, guys, when you step back and think about this game and these two teams, there isn't a whole lot that separates them. Man, it's going to be good. I just hope for the first time, man, I just hope it's going to be good, and it's going to be good for us. All these instant classic games, they always go the other way. All you would love to see is an instant classic that the Bills take home. Man. This is what it's all about, though, man. This is what it's all about. Being a fan of this team, what we've waited for so long. Being a fan of truly one of the best teams in football with one of the best talents at the quarterback position we've ever seen. This is what it's all about. The moments like these that you get as a fan, where you get to be a diehard fan of the team that is about to go square off in easily one of the best playoff matchups in recent memory. And it's not just based on how good these two teams are. When you factor in how insanely divisive and intense and argumentative and elongated this MVP race was this year, that to me is like the big thing here. It's already an insane game. Like, throw out the MVP. It's already an insane game. You got 2 of the best teams in the league, 2 of the best offenses, 2 of the best coaches, 2 of the best fan bases, 2 of the best teams in terms of just overall makeup, 2 of the most well-run organizations. From top to bottom, it's incredible. But when you factor in what this MVP race was this year, you basically had people killing each other online. You had people like virtually killing each other, just destroying one another in the comment section. You just go into town, saying anything and everything. Some of the dumbest things you've ever seen. Some of the most heinous and malicious things I've ever seen. I mean, it was crazy. What this MVP race was, we haven't seen one like it in a long time. We have not seen an MVP race like this in a long time. And like I said, back when we pretty much found out that Lamar was going to win this MVP based on the APL Pro team votes, no one's going to give a rat's ass who wins that MVP. They're going to care about who wins on Sunday. That is what matters most. Josh Allen could lose the MVP 10 times over. If he won on Sunday, I don't think he'd care. I know I wouldn't care. I know you wouldn't care. Nobody would care. This is what it's all going to come down to, and that's why it's so beautiful. It's killer. It's killer. And once again, the spread reflects it. You very rarely see this. A pick 'em right now on BetUS. You very rarely see this. I mean, to give you an example of next week's games, this just goes to show you, we already have 3 of the 4 divisional round matchups set up for next week. Right now, on BetUS, the Chiefs are a 9-point favorite over the Texans. A 9-point favorite. Essentially the same amount in which the Bills were favored against Denver yesterday and won 31-7. The Chiefs are in that same boat against the Texans. 9-point favorite. The Lions, even more. They are a 9.5-point favorite against the Commanders. You don't typically see a pick 'em. You don't typically see the sports book kind of draw a line in the sand and say, hey, you pick and choose what side you want to be on. Because we don't really know who's the best. Like, we just don't know. You don't see it often. You don't. It's just one more little added cool reason as to why this game is just so incredible, so insane. It's going to be so amazing. By the way, all those lines, like I just mentioned, are up on BetUS. And then whoever the winner of tonight, whoever that should be, That line will be up there later on BetUS as well. You can get in on those games using the promo code YouTube150. It'll get you a 150% sign up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two after that. Just rare you see that, man. I mean, you already look at that. You got two projected blowouts next week, and then you got the Bills Ravens. That's projected to be so tight they can't even, no one can even determine who should be the favorite. Man, I also hope these games have sucked, by the way. I mean, and like I told you on Saturday night, if you joined me after I recapped the Steelers Ravens game and the Chargers Texans game, I said, I'm hoping for the trend to continue here where the Bills blow out the Broncos, but I hope we get some better games here. And obviously the trend did continue. The Bills did blow out the Broncos, but we have had 4 blowouts. We're 5 of the 6 games in here. We've had 4 blowouts and 1 good game. We've had 1 even arguably good game. All of these other games have been ass kickings. That's why I found it so funny how everyone was bitching and moaning and crying about how uncompetitive and unwatchable and how bad the college football playoff was. And I'm thinking to myself, it is what it is. This is the sport. When you got the high-end teams and the lower-end teams battling out for do-or-die football, oftentimes the better team is going to roll. But you typically get like one upset or you typically get like one nail-biter. And I know that technically the Commanders wasn't upset last night, but the Commanders had a better record than the Bucs did. I mean, yes, it definitely was an upset. It was in Tampa. They were technically an underdog based on the spread, and you had a rookie quarterback playing. I get all that. But out of all of the games this past weekend, if you had to pick one game, even I did, if you joined me and Rico last Friday, the only game Rico and I differed on was Commanders Bucs. I took the Commanders, he took the Bucs. If there was one game that you were going to pick an upset in, it would have been that game. So if that's the case, is it really truly this big upset? By the technical definition, yes, it was an upset, but it didn't really feel like a major upset. Pittsburgh beating Baltimore would have been a major upset. Even, another one, I guess, technically, Houston beating the Chargers was technically an upset. Houston was an underdog in terms of the spread, but it was in Houston. They won their division, and I know it's a shit division, but they won their division. The Chargers didn't. I mean, it wasn't like there was this big divide. But either way, upset or not, in that game, we had blowout after blowout. I know the Eagles only won 22-10. The Packers were abysmal. They were so bad. And the Eagles played terribly too, in my opinion. Jalen Hurts did not play well at all. That offense did not look good at all compared to the standard we've set for them. That game felt like it should have been like 35-10, not 22-10. That was a blowout. The score might not reflect it. That was a blowout. I mean, they completely outclassed Green Bay. Green Bay never felt like they were in it. Even though it was like 16-10 at one point, they never, ever felt like they had a chance. These games have not been good. I think tonight will be good. I don't really know how it couldn't. I'm leaning Rams. I don't really know what's going to happen. I just have a hard time not leaning Stafford and McVay going against Sam Darnold in his first ever playoff game. Then again, however, these Vikings, I can't let one bad game against Detroit be the only thing I remember from a team that won 14 games in a season. So I really don't know. It's a toss-up to me. Plus, it's in Arizona, neutral site game. But it just kind of sucks that next week in the divisional round, you have the Bills, Ravens, that's considered to be as tight as it can get. And out of the other 2 out of the other 3 games are already projected to be damn near double-digit blowouts. This year truly was the have and the have-not year. I don't think the top of the top, I don't think it's ever been this good. Like the top tier of the league. I don't know if it's ever been this good. I don't know if the bottom of the barrel has ever been this bad either. That's why there's so many head coaching openings, and that's why there's been so many storylines coming out, including Mike Vrabel coming back to the division. That's awfully interesting. We'll be squaring off against Mike Vrabel 2 times a year now as he takes over the New England Patriots head coaching job. We've had our battles with Mike Vrabel throughout the last handful of seasons with a couple of primetime games against Tennessee, a couple of big battles with Tennessee. So welcome him to the division. He's already the second best coach in the division. And then Mike McCarthy, just when you thought he was in, they pull him back out. I thought Mike McCarthy was guaranteed to be canned midway through the year. Then Dak goes down, and they start winning games with Cooper Rush, and it feels like he's got some momentum building. The team's gathering around him. Then the general sentiment felt like, oh, Mike McCarthy, he's definitely going to keep his job. And then it ends up happening today. Mike McCarthy's the one that walks away, not the Cowboys. He tells Jerry Jones, you're not giving me enough guaranteed years here, man. I'm out. I'm going to go explore my options. Crazy, man. But that's why there's so many head coaching openings. I mean, the bottom of the league this year was bad. It was a really bad year to be bad, too. It was a really bad year to be mediocre. Because if you won like 7 games this year, you're picking like 15 or 16th in the draft. And typically you can lose like 6-7 games and you'll be in the top 10. No, I mean, this year, like, it feels like everyone in the top 10 is a 4 or 5 win team. Mitch, the lead robster. Legend. Saying, bot, whatever happens, parentheses, I think the Bills win big. Love the mindset, Mitch. You are an awesome guy with constant awesome coverage. We appreciate you being on this journey with us. BF is the best YouTube channel, baby. It feels so odd, Mitch, reading one of your chats and not telling Rico to hit that damn button. I wish I had the button with me. I don't have the button, but I'll do it verbally. I need to get one of those buttons of my own. Well, I don't want to steal Rico's. I can't steal Rico's shtick there. That's Rico's thing. If I start hitting that bell, it's going to be a little too much bell. That's Rico's bell. I got to get my own bell. I got to get something different. But Mitch, the appreciation is all on my end. Believe me, I appreciate you guys being on this journey with me and all of us together. That's been the beauty of all of it, man. It's been the beauty of all of it. It's why, like I mentioned earlier, you know, the idea behind us being able to root for the team that's playing in the biggest game of the year because of the fact that it's going to be the best quarterback battle of the year. I mean, we've all been on this ride together. And let's just hope this ride continues after this weekend. This is going to be a huge narrative. It's going to, this game, beyond the win and the loss, it's going to be a massive narrative boosting and narrative destroying game. Whoever loses this game, the narrative that they can't beat the best quarterback in the playoffs, the narrative that they can't win the big game in the playoffs, that narrative is going to go to new heights. Meanwhile, whoever wins this game, man, they finally got the big one. Man, they finally got that signature win in the playoffs against the top-tier quarterback. You know me, I think that sucks. Because I think win or lose, I personally do not think it hinders either one of these guys in terms of how I view them. I just don't. The Bills beat Lamar, it's not going to make me view Lamar any less at all. But that'll be exactly what the outcome of this game will be. You know it, and I know it. I mean, that's the outcome of all these big games. That's why it's always pissed me off so much that, you know, Josh Allen puts up one of the greatest playoff performances we've ever seen. The defense collapses in 13 seconds, and all of a sudden, you know, the storyline is Josh Allen's a choke artist. It's just it's always been the dumbest form of take, in my opinion. It's not even low-hanging fruit, because I don't even think it's fruit to be taken off the tree. I don't even think the fruit exists. It's just synthetic fruit. It's a synthetic tree grown to form a synthetic narrative that I personally don't think exists, but yet it seems to exist because of how much it's talked about. But when you really think about it, I don't think it's real. That's why I think whoever wins it, how can I shit on a guy either end here? And this, of course, is not this is factoring in the idea that both these quarterbacks play well. Maybe it's totally deserved if one of these quarterbacks goes out there this Sunday, whether it be Allen or Lamar, and they have a Justin Herbert or Jordan Love type performance in the divisional. If one of these quarterbacks goes out there and throws 3 or 4 picks, okay, then yeah, 100% deserving of the narrative that they're going to have set for them the following Monday. I mean, you better believe it, and I'm all in on that. You know, Allen goes out there and throws 4 picks on Sunday. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, well, hey, you know, wasn't Allen's fault. I mean, give me a break. I'm talking about both these guys go out there and play MVP caliber ball to the point in which this year, these two guys have played such high quality MVP caliber ball that really no one knew who the hell the MVP was going to be. And as I mentioned earlier, you had people online going for people's throats over it. If they go out there and play like that, then I don't know how you could shit on either one of these guys who ends up losing it. I don't know how you could. But they will. People will. But it's just one more added reason as to why this game is as big as it is. Obviously, the biggest portion of it, of course, is getting the win, moving out of the AFC Championship. Nothing can trump that. But we're talking a legacy-long, lifelong type impact that this game's going to have. The impact on the legacy of either one of these quarterbacks, whether we like it or not, and you know I don't, but whether we like it or not, the impact on these guys' legacies is going to take a major hit, and it's going to be majorly advanced on either end based on who wins and who loses. It is a huge game. And the thing is, too, should the Bills win and then beat Mahomes? Well, Mahomes fans, Chiefs fans can still sit back and say, yeah, well, hey, we beat you 3 other times in the playoffs. We have 3 Super Bowl championships. And we're good on this side. The Ravens go against the Chiefs and they beat the Chiefs. It's the same thing. Oh, hey, we beat you last year. We won the Super Bowl after beating you in the AFC Championship. We have 3 rings. We're fine. This is why this game is so unique. Because typically, the storyline going into the game is can one of these guys finally be the guy to beat Mahomes? This is what these two guys have been kind of known as, Allen and Lamar. The second tier right behind Mahomes. That's what these two guys have been known as throughout their entire career when they were both drafted in the first round of 2018. This has been their career. 2 of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen who are just not this much better than one of the greatest quarterbacks we've ever seen, maybe the best of all time based on how it might finish in terms of what's in his trophy case. This is what these guys have been known as. The unique situation here now is that those 2 guys are playing each other for the right to then go and play the guy that they're typically having to go against to crush the other narrative that nobody can beat Mahomes. What a script, what a story, what a game, what a week this will be leading up to it. Man. But yesterday was something else as well. Couldn't get to this upcoming week without getting by yesterday, and the Bills not only got by, but they got by with flying colors. You can't say enough about this performance yesterday. And the beauty is, a lot of times throughout the year, there's been a handful of complimentary games where you look back and they played collectively well. But it's primarily been, it's felt like the Bills offense really rolling in a lot of these games and the defense just kind of hold and serve a bit enough for this offense to win it, right? This really felt like a collective effort. Bills offense was holding onto the ball, scoring points. The Bills defense was immediately giving them the ball back to do that yet again. Not only was the Bills dominating the time of possession battle, but the Bills defense supplemented that time of possession battle by just shutting Denver down in every facet of the game, including the money downs. It was a whole collective effort that resulted in a dominant performance all the way down to Tyler Bass, 3 for 3. I mean, we can't let that go unnoticed. The playoffs, 3 for 3. I know they were short yardage field goals, chip shots. I don't care. Last night it's a chip shot for the Washington Commanders kicker, and if that ball was 1 yard further back, that thing is hitting the upright and bouncing out, and maybe they lose that game. None of these are given. So everything, defense, special teams, offense, you name it. Jacob coming in, my man, 60 months. I need to get, like I just was telling Mitch, I got to get a button. I got to get something. It can't be the same button as Rico, but it's got to be a button. I'm going to look into that this week. I need a button because I feel like I should be hitting a button right now for Jake. I'm going to get a button. Be on the lookout. One of the upcoming episodes, we're going to have a button. Jake, 60 months. 5 years. Unbelievable. saying, hey, bot, love the show. Love your old school sweatshirt. Thank you, brother. This is our year to win the whole damn thing. Go Bills. Hey, hashtag JA17 MVP. Jake, appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate the chat. And man, appreciate you sticking around with us for 60 months as a member. That's incredible stuff. I owe you a button. We're just going to call it the button. We're not going to call it the bell. We're going to call it the button. The bot button. I'm going to debut it later this week. I got to find something cool, though. Got to find something off the beaten path a little bit. Gerald coming in. Gerald Ross, Broncos fan here. Congratulations to your team. Gerald, thank you very much. Congrats on a hell of a year. Appreciate you coming in. Everyone in here knows. Obviously, I'm sure you probably haven't tuned in many times before, if ever. But everybody in here who's a regular of the smoke break knows I love nothing more than a fair, honest, bipartisan fan of another team. I love it. There's not enough of that. So I really appreciate you coming in and giving the flowers. But everyone in here will tell you, I have given Denver flowers. I have been very impressed with Denver. The ability to overcome what they had to go through with Russell Wilson, to have to fire Nathaniel Hackett, to have to move on from Russell Wilson and take the largest dead cap hit in NFL history, and then a year later take a rookie quarterback to the playoffs. That is impressive. I am very impressed with Bo Nix. I think that once he gets a couple more, guys around him, once he gets another year with Peyton, once he really gets his legs underneath of him, I have seen some flashes from that guy that has me thinking that he's going to be something special. And before anybody says, hey, Bob, we don't want Bo Nix to be great. Look, we need somebody, the league needs somebody in that division to compete with Mahomes. This league needs somebody in that division that can finally overthrow Patrick Mahomes in the West, because nobody's come close. We thought it might be Justin Herbert. I just don't see it. I mean, what we saw from Herbert Saturday was rough. I know it was just one game. You can't throw 3 picks in the regular season to go and throw 4 in a playoff game that you're favored in, when it's only the second time you've ever been back there and you've been waiting forever to try to get your team back at a crack at getting it done in the postseason. We need some new life. We need some more competition for the Chiefs in the West. And it feels like with Sean Payton, a Hall of Fame head coach, it feels like Bo Nix could potentially be that based on what I've seen. It's going to take some time, but a lot of love and respect to your Broncos, Gerald. I think it was a very unexpected season based on the circumstances, and I think the future is incredibly bright for Denver. There's no question about it. There is no question about it. All right, hey, we are about 10 minutes away from kickoff on the finale of Wild Card Weekend. Rams taking on the Vikings. I really don't know how it's going to go. I don't know how it's going to go. Like I told you earlier, I'm leaning Rams. I think the Rams, just based on experience, I think they're the slightly better team in terms of trust value. And that's only because I don't know what to make of Sam Darnold. I got multiple years of really mediocre to bad. I got one outlier really good year. And I have a tough time putting all my eggs in the basket of the really good year. And the reason I have that tough time is not only do I have a far larger sample size of poor play, but in the one big, gigantic moment that Sam Darnold had to face this year, and that was last week against the Lions for the 1 seed, he completely imploded. I can't get that out of my mind. I don't want it to be the sole reason why I lean Rams in this one, but I can't get it out of my mind. We had talks about Sam Darnold being potentially a $40 to $60 million quarterback. I understand not winning every big game. He was 18 to 42 for like $160 in that game. It was bad. So tonight's going to be huge for Sam Darnold in particular. I think Sam Darnold can really make himself or lose himself a lot of money tonight based on how this game goes. We'll see. Right now on BetUS, the line is still up. You can get in on this game tonight before it kicks off. And as you can see in front of you right now, those Vikings with Sam Darnold are a 2-point favorite over the LA Rams with an over-under of 48. This game is at a neutral site because of the fires in Los Angeles. It'll be where the Arizona Cardinals play their home games in Glendale, Arizona. So not technically a home game for the Rams, even though it is. But the Vikings 2-point favorite kicks off in about 10 minutes or so. You can get in on the action for tonight and all of the divisional round games on BetUS using the promo code YouTube150. That'll get you a 150% sign up bonus up to $2,000 on your first deposit, 125% bonus on your next two after that. All right, so some good news. I'm off of work this week, so should be having more episodes of the Smoke Break coming your way this week than usual. We got a lot to talk about this week, a ton, including diving into, analyzing, and breaking down that unbelievable divisional round game we have coming our way this upcoming Sunday. So we'll be doing tons of previews on that. Looking forward to doing it. So on your way out the door, like button if you could, smash that subscribe button. That way you can be notified of all upcoming episodes this week. And then, of course, as I just mentioned to you, on BetUS, you can get in on tonight's game, final game of the wild card, and all divisional round games using the promo code YouTube150. All right, that's going to do it. Much love to you guys. Hope you enjoyed the wild card W as much as I did. Appreciate you so much for tuning in tonight with me on a Victory Monday to celebrate that dominant 31-7 W that propels the Bills into the divisional round. We'll have much more coming your way this week. Looking forward to seeing you then. But until then, enjoy the final game of the wild card round. We'll talk soon. Much love. And go Bills.
If you're a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility and your machinery isn't working right, Grainger knows you need to understand what's wrong as soon as possible. So when a conveyor motor falters, Grainger offers diagnostic tools like calibration kits and multimeters to help you identify and fix the problem. With Grainger, you can be confident you have everything you need to keep your facility running smoothly. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.